Do the Oklahoma City Thunder have the best backcourt in the NBA? We'll talk about that on today's Locked On Thunder podcast.
You are Locked On Thunder, your daily Oklahoma City Thunder podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Let's get it going on the Locked On Thunder podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, media member, and editor-in-chief over at thunderousintentions.com, Rylan Stiles. Follow me on Twitter at Rylan_Stiles. Follow the show on Twitter at LOThunderPod. Email the show, LOThunderPod@gmail.com. On today's show, we're diving into the Thunder taking over the FIBA World Cup. They are absolutely dominating the World Cup right now, with their stars showing out at this event. Plus, we're going to dive into the Thunder possibly having the best backcourt in the NBA and what to expect from this Thunder team moving forward. So let's start with SGA. SGA continues to look as though he's one of, if not the best player in the world. Obviously, we can debate that all day long, but he looks like one of the best players in the world right now, just based upon how he's playing, especially in FIBA. So many highlight plays, even just this morning alone, the coast-to-coast Euro step ankle-breaking performance this morning. You have that game. You have just the unguardability of SGA, and this is translated now to FIBA. And, of course, you saw it all last year in the NBA on his way to averaging 30 points per game, which was huge. What SGA does is so impressive. He helped will the Canadians to a win over France, which was a formidable team coming into this thing. Obviously, they flamed out, but was thought to be one of the better matchups for Team Canada. But eventually, despite a tough first half, it ends up being a statement win for SGA and a statement win for Team Canada. And SGA was the best player on the floor and was the leader of this group. And in every game thus far for Team Canada, SGA has been the best player on the floor and has been the best player for the Canadians, and also has been the player who makes the biggest winning impact at 25 years old. And so you're seeing why Canada, who goes 3-0 in pool play, has the ability to win it all. And so the France win was very impressive. But I think that their win number 2, even though it was against an overmatched Lebanon team, was equally as impressive. You're coming off this high of beating France, who at the time we thought was a really good team. Then you play Lebanon, but you don't have Lu Dort, who's resting due to soreness. You can be overlooking this game. Could this be a trap game? But no, they didn't let any of that happen. Right out of the gate, Team Canada enforced their will. They won the game, and they kind of just coasted to a win in game number 2. And then today, he was able to take care of business again. In 3 games, he's averaging 22 points, which is a bit misleading in the sense of, he didn't have to play that much in the Lebanon game and score that much in the Lebanon game to get the win for Team Canada. 5.7 assists, 7.7 rebounds, 1.7 steals. He's shooting 54, 27, and 88. But he's continued to look improved. And that's what should give Thunder fans a lot of encouragement about this FIBA play and about SGA. We've been talking about how SGA, summer over summer, year over year, continues to look better, continues to develop. And then you saw last year, he went from borderline all-star, probably should have been an all-star the year before, but with all the narratives and voting that goes into all-star games, didn't make the all-star team, but he did have all-star level production. You go from that to an immediate leap into your first all-star game and your first team All-NBA honors. You saw him take that massive leap, and you think maybe at 25 years old now, the ceiling is hit. That's just what he is. But yet he's still improving on his game, and he's still getting better day to day, month to month, year to year. And so he still is not quite at that ceiling yet at 25 years old. He looks like he has a much cleaner shot from 3. It's not necessarily going in at a higher clip, but the willingness to take it and the space that he can create to get the shot off has looked good so far in FIBA play. He's looked like a much better playmaker in FIBA. He's using his length and size to defend well and defended a two-way clip and played a two-way clip in FIBA, shooting 80% at the rim, 50% on catch and shoot looks. Those are two areas where Shai can dominate the NBA, and he already has dominated the NBA level at those two things. But in the construct of this Thunder team in this upcoming season, when you have Josh Giddey's playmaking, when you have Shai's ability to play off ball and to cut, along with the ball handlers and the playmakers, you're going to get the ball to. Like, you're going to get this ball to Chet Holmgren. You're going to get this ball to J-Dub, this ball to Josh Giddey. Like, oftentimes the ball will be in the hand of a really good decision maker and a really good player and connector and passer, to where when Shai isn't having to create for himself, he can capitalize because he can shoot so well off the catch. He can shoot so well at the rim off cuts. 1.4 points per possession in transition. He did that very well last year as well in the NBA. 0.9 points per possession as a pick and roll ball handler. And the third quarter takeover continues. And that's what SGA is almost best at, is his feel for the game. And he can flip that switch where he's feeling out the game, he's seeing how it's going, letting the game and the defense dictate itself, and then evaluates what he needs to do, and then he goes out and does it. Like, he just goes out and says, okay, this is a game where I've got to take over and really be ball dominant and score. Then he can do that. He can change the game on a dime and really improve your chances of winning. And defensively, along with the deflection and steals, it's also been impressive to watch him close out on guys. It's tough for guys to shoot over him, obviously, and he's handled pick and roll scenarios very well defensively as well for Team Canada, who just continues to dominate and continues to soar to wins. They're 3-0, and they're going to play again on Friday, and they're one of the most fun teams to watch at this FIBA stage. So it's good that they're going to keep on rolling and keep on rolling along. Josh Giddey has been leading Team Australia. So you've gotten two of those leaders, and they both were players of the game this morning. So that was kind of fun to see the Thunder duo continue to dominate. So in his 3 games, he's averaging 19 points, 7 assists, 6 rebounds for Josh Giddey, who is only 20 years old and is playing in his first FIBA World Cup and his first international play because his draft year, if you remember, he helped the Boomers prepare, but he did not play in that set of games for the Boomers. But now he's actually getting to play. Some things that jump out about Josh Giddey. Number one is, first and foremost, the 6.1 free throw attempts per game. It is not necessarily the percentage that you want it to be at yet, but it's just a matter of getting to the line right now that is so impressive, because he's still under 2 free throws per game. Whenever you look at his NBA numbers. And so that was a big challenge that Mark has talked about before, about getting Josh Giddey to the line more, and that can kind of take his game to another step and to another level, which is true. And I think that with Josh Giddey, you're seeing him get there at FIBA, which should translate to the NBA. 22% from 3, not the right looks for him from 3, so I'm not too concerned about it. He's had some wild misses from 3, obviously, and you can put together some clips and cut-ups of some bad misses, but ultimately, the way he's going to shoot the 3 ball in the NBA is so much different than what the threes look like for Team Australia. When he shoots a 3 in the NBA, it's going to be off of a swing pass, and it's going to be him in a cleaner look and a cleaner chance and a cleaner opportunity to get that shot off and to take advantage of the defense and to just have a better look overall. But he's shooting 45% from the floor. He had that massive poster dunk, which got everybody talking, including J-Dub and J-Will on Twitter, talking about his poster dunk. His 2 best dunks of his career has happened in non-NBA games. This dunk, and of course that Summer League dunk last summer it was with J-Dub. I think that he's continued to take advantage of smaller matchups and smaller guards on him, which is going to help improve the portfolio of the Thunder offensively and what the Thunder can achieve offensively whenever you see him take advantage of smaller guards being nearly 6'9". If he can score like that on these straight line drives, but then also get to the rack and get to the free throw line, then that can change things for OKC. Now, there was a clunky ending to that Germany game, but he was matching bucket for bucket down the stretch of that game. And then he had the blood issue They tried to stop the bleeding. They did stop the bleeding. Then they called the timeout. He couldn't come back in. Whatever that all was, but down the stretch of that game, in the clutch, in those opportunities, he was the one matching buckets for Team Australia. He's shooting 68% at the rim. He is dominating in transition, over a point per possession, a point per possession in isolation, a point per possession on handoffs. He's playing really good in the pick and roll also. He's playing really good team defense. Another area that he's looked good in, cuts, 1.25 points per possession on cuts. He's been excellent in pick and roll coverage defensively as well. So the main takeaway from Josh Giddey here has been getting to the line more at the free throw line. He's getting reps and he's getting chances to run the offense and to be the guy leading a team, which is huge, and an area of development that you need live game reps to improve upon, but also that's hard to get live game reps in general. He's playing in these must-win games in high pressurized environments. He's playing down the stretch of must-win games where he's being asked and tasked with scoring and being the leader of a team down the stretch of a game. He's being a difference maker. And some encouraging things about Josh Giddey has been his ability to adjust within the construct of a single game, where he'll start very slow. They'll call a timeout, and he'll be able to get it turned back on and get back in the good for the scope of the game. And then just a unique chance to play this game this morning against Japan, where you're playing a must-win game. You win or go home. You've got to try to get to round two. It'd be a bad disappointment for Team Australia had they not gotten to round two with what I would imagine is one of their most talented teams they've ever had in Team Australia. But what does he do in that moment against the host team in Japan? He gets player of the match. He's the best player on the floor, and he's able to get them to round two. And he picks up his teammate Patty Mills, who's a FIBA just incredible player, a great player in general, but like a great FIBA player specifically. He had a little bit of a down game today, Patty Mills did, but Josh Giddey rises him up and gets this team to round two, where Patty Mills will then pick up Josh Giddey eventually. It's all going to balance out. And like that dynamic has been good to see too, because whenever Josh Giddey started out slow, what was that, on Sunday morning, I believe it was, their second game of the three, Patty Mills went on a massive spurt of his own to keep Australia in that game early on, whenever they ended up losing to Germany in that game. But still, it was good to see the fact that they were staying in it because of Patty Mills. So you're seeing how they're kind of balancing each other out in the backcourt, and they're playing off of each other very well in the backcourt to help each other out. One other thing about Josh Giddey in these games, before we talk about the backcourt in general, with these two guys combining, is that you saw the Team Australia coach just berate Josh Giddey in the first time out of the game against Germany. And I mean, he was just berating Josh Giddey. And I only highlight this because I wonder if that's the kind of coaching that Josh Giddey responds to. And I say that because a lot of the times last year, whenever Josh Giddey would be pulled from a game or not played on the stretch of games, fans in the comment section, fans on Twitter would be freaking out about like why is this happening and why is Mark doing this? And that just might be the response. That just might be the coaching and the style of coaching that Josh responds to the best, and that Josh kind of resonates with the best to help him out. So it was kind of interesting to get that insight of like, you know, Josh got his butt chewed out by the Australia coach, and then he comes out and plays some of his best basketball after that same timeout and gets his game completely turned around. He was a different person after that timeout in that game. So he just looked totally different. So maybe that's just what he kind of resonates with and what he responds to. You've got to kind of know who you can and can't do that with. And obviously the Team Australia coach felt comfortable doing that to Josh Giddey to wake up the whole unit after a very, very, very poor start against Germany. So is Josh Giddey and SGA the best backcourt in the NBA? We'll talk about that coming up. But first, I want to tell you right now about our good friends over at FanDuel. FanDuel.com/lockedon. You can go there right now and check it out today, folks. FanDuel.com/lockedon. Look, I think that FanDuel is incredible. You know that I think that they're incredible. What I think is even more incredible is this deal. This is probably the best deal I've ever seen in my life. You go there right now because the start of the NFL season is so back. We're so back with football in America. America's number one sports book. Go there right now and you can get you bet $5 and you get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. So you make a $5 bet and you get $200 in bonus bets back guaranteed. Plus, all customers who bet $5 will get $100 off of an NFL Sunday ticket. This is a 2-for-1, folks. You bet $5. You make a $5 bet. not only do you get $200 in bonus bets to use at FanDuel, but you also get $100 off Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV, which allows you to watch every out-of-market game. So check it out today by going to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon, FanDuel.com/lockedon. It is a great app. It is easy to use, and it's the official partner of the NFL, and you will not want to miss it with the NFL season beginning this next week. We're back on the Locked On Thunder podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you so much for making us your first listen every single morning, every single day. We're here for you, talking Thunder basketball. Folks, Josh Giddey and SGA could be the best backcourt in the NBA. So obviously this season that could be a bit premature to say. But when you watch them play individually in FIBA and you see the type of talent that these guys are, and the NBA talent wins out, you can also see how they highlight each other when they're playing apart from each other. Like Josh Giddey, I think that for all the talk of, Josh Giddey, like what if he was able to run his own team and be the number one guy in his own team? For all of that talk, no matter where Josh Giddey plays, no matter what team he ever ends up on, and hopefully it's the Thunder forever, but go with me here. No matter what team he ever ends up on, he's going to have to play next to a top scorer to be successful, to win titles, to win games, to reach the pinnacle of the NBA. He's going to have to play with a top scorer. And for Josh Giddey, winning to this point seems to be his biggest priority of everything he's ever talked about. So like for Josh Giddey, he needs a guy like Shai, no matter where he goes, and no matter what team he's on, no matter what the roster looks like, no matter if you want to classify him as a 1 or a 2 or whatever you want to classify him as, no matter what you do, Josh Giddey needs a guy to score like SGA. And SGA benefits from a playmaking guy like Josh Giddey, the playmaking that Josh brings both to alleviate pressure off SGA, to get SGA easy buckets, and to make up for, Josh is obviously a better playmaker than Josh Giddey. That's no surprise. So like they complement each other well, and they are able to kind of play off each other well. And I think that we're still not understanding just the sheer lack of opportunity these two guys have had to play together. Like Josh's rookie year, they didn't get to play together that much, obviously, because SGA was hurt. And so like they are still, they're still hardly, have played together. Now year 3 will be huge for them. But Josh Giddey's only 20 years old, and he's continued to improve every single year. SGA has continued to improve every single year. Neither one of these guys has topped out yet. I think that they're already a top 10 backcourt in the NBA. And the exciting part for the Thunder is that as of right now, it's literally all sunshine and rainbows. Not only have they gotten better individually, they've gotten a heck of a lot better week to week, day to day, playing together as well. Like that pairing looks a lot better than it did when it first began, as you'd expect. So they've not only progressed at an incline individually, they've progressed at an incline together. And the interesting part for OKC, and the exciting part is right now, it's all sunshine and rainbows because this entire roster seems to be meticulously woven together to all play off of each other's strengths and weaknesses. And it's no different in that backcourt. And so I think that you're seeing the caliber of player they can each be as they both win player of the match in this day, and they both advance to the second round in this day of the FIBA World Cup. You are seeing just how good they can be. And so it's exciting. And it is, again, I would say that they're top 5 even backcourts in basketball right now. So I don't think it's absurd to say by the end of next season, we can be talking about the best backcourt in the NBA. Which is quite the jump from what was the discussion way back last year, where you were still questioning at this time last year if they could play together. But I really think that the idea of if they can play together, forgetting about where they rank as backcourt mates, if they can play together, that discussion I think is long gone, and I think that was that ends up being a futile one because Josh is going to need Shai to reach his ceiling. And Shai's life gets easier with Josh. So like they can play together. That's been answered to me. Asked and answered is they can play together. Now it's a matter of how good can they be together. How successful can this run be? And I think that they can highlight each other and raise each other up and kind of bring this Thunder team to some great heights, especially with what's around them too, of J-Dub and Chet. And like, this Thunder team could be one of the most fun teams to watch in a very long time. Like, when you just talk about what basketball fans like, and when you have basketball fans write out some qualities in their teams that they really enjoy watching, just as a neutral observer, not of their own of their own fandom team, just like whatever they like watching basketball, this and this and this happens. The stuff that they write down is going to happen in OKC pretty frequently, night in and night out. And so right now it's all sunshine and rainbows. Now the players, of course, and the coaches and everyone has to execute and has to continue to improve and has to actually go do it. But right now, when you're talking about this on paper, it looks great for OKC. It looks great for Josh Giddey, SGA, and on down the line. So what do you think? Where would you put SGA and Josh Giddey in terms of backcourts in the NBA? I have them top 5. Top 10, I think, is a lock, and they could be one as soon as the end of last year. Now, there's some steep competition, obviously. Like, I think that Luka and Kyrie by the end of this year will be talked about a lot differently than they're talked about right now. Like, I think that they will be talked about a lot differently. They're going to look a lot better this year, in my opinion. So, like, there's going to be steep competition, but they could do it. Josh Giddey and SGA. If not the end of this year, fairly soon. Let's talk the other FIBA representatives real quick, but first, take another quick timeout. We're back on the Locked On Thunder podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you so much for making us your first listen every single morning, every single day. We're here for you talking Thunder basketball. Folks, on tomorrow's show, we're doing a mailbag episode, so get your questions in on YouTube. Got a lot of questions on Twitter already. You can go there and leave more if you want to on Twitter at Rylan_Stiles. So leave your questions down below. Also, the next day, we're going to be doing another Grade Your Take. So on YouTube, I didn't give you enough warning about this. I apologize for that last time, but last time was primarily Twitter. YouTube, comments, drop below your take. It can be on literally anything in the world, anything in the entire world, but obviously NBA, Thunder related is preferred. Just whatever take you believe in, and I'm going to grade it. If it's hot, if it's cold, what kind of take it is. We'll see on the next episode, so make sure you do that as well. So let's talk about Jack White. Jack White has a lot of supporters from the Thunder fan base and a lot of supporters from Team Australia. I think that there's two different conversations to have for Jack White. The first conversation is what he brings to the table is absolutely what the Thunder look for and qualities that fit the Thunder. The energy he brings, the hustle, the spark plug nature of his game, but also the steadiness of his game. He's not going to try to do too much. He's not going to play outside of himself. You know what he's going to do. You can trust him. You can trust that he'll play his role and he will just do his job. He'll rarely get caught in a position on either side of the floor. He's a good play finisher. He's a switchable defender. You can use him on cuts in the dunker spot. Like, when you talk about what Jack White is really good at, you talk about things the Thunder really prioritize. Very true. That's why the Thunder signed him. That's why the Thunder want to see him in training camp. That's why the Thunder are going to give him a shot to compete. So that is true. And if Jack White survives training camp, it's not going to be a shock of why. It's more so going to be a shock of how. Because the why is already there. You know why Jack White's in OKC. But, you know, every time I do the roster prediction, there's a lot of Jack White stans who don't understand, you know, why I still have him on the cut list. Because someone has to get cut. As a matter of fact, 3 someones have to be cut. And the Thunder have a lot of guys who already do what I just described. Like the role of what I described is filled already and accounted for already by a lot of other players. And so gaining a pathway to keeping Jack White gets difficult when you factor in how redundant his skill sets are. Now, that's not a bad thing for Jack White. Those skill sets will let him latch on to another NBA team if my prediction comes true and he's not on this team after training camp. He has a role in the NBA, and he is an NBA caliber player. It's just that when you have to find 3 people to let go of, And one of the people you're considering has a bunch of redundant skills that you already have. Well, then, and of course, the little to no financial commitment that you're giving Jack White, it opens the door for him to be one of the guys. And you, as an organization, you have already set a precedent of willing to cut guys who you just signed that same summer. It's happened before, could happen again. But as far as FIBA goes, he's played exactly like you'd expect Jack White to play. He's played bigger than he is. He's played that small ball 5 role for the Boomers, and he's done it admirably. But it's not a matter of why he got signed. It's like, how do you keep him from this roster? On a lesser good note, Lu Dort in 6 games, including exhibitions, 9 points, 2.5 rebounds, really good defense, but he's shooting 20% from 3 on 4 attempts a game. He's shooting on spot-up attempts 35% and 15% on catch-and-shoot looks. He did improve at the rim. He's shooting 58% at the rim, which would be a career high by 2 percentage points. Still, it needs many improvements from this, and still has a few gaffes in there as well at the rim. But at least we have to acknowledge that this would be a career high percentage from the rim, I should say, from Lu Dort. The issue's been that Lu Dort's been Lu Dort. Like, that's been the issue. He's just been Lu Dort, and there's been no massive improvement per se. And the idea could be that this is just who Lu Dort is. Now, I've still held out hope that I think that Lu Dort can look a lot better, and when I say a lot better, can look more efficient, because that's all that's really lacking. You love what he brings to you defensively. You love what he does on that end of the floor. There's no concerns about that end of the floor. It's offensively, how do you make him an efficient basketball player? And I've held out hope that, with a team that has the depth and offensive talent that this Thunder team will have this season, you can reduce him to a corner 3-point shooter where he's thrived at his whole career as a corner 3-point shooter. That's been the one area where he's remained efficient in his NBA career offensively. And then you'd hope that he'd stop being one of the worst rim finishers in the NBA. And so outside of his rookie year, he shot 31% his rookie year on 42 attempts from the corner. Don't count his rookie year. Outside of that, he shot 46%, 44%, and 40% from the corner threes. If you maintain that while cutting out above the break threes, while cutting out mid-range, and while improving a bit at the rim, plus what he brings you defensively, you get a really good basketball player. It's just a matter of can he actually do that, and will he accept that role? And I thought that we'd see that role a bit with Team Canada. To this point, no cigar. But he's still been good. Like, he's still been a good basketball player. It's just that there's not been that huge improvement, and maybe Lu Dort is just Lu Dort. Let's talk Davis Bertans. Another one. Davis Bertans has been Davis Bertans. 11 points per game, an assist per game, 6 rebounds per game, 35% from the floor, 33% from 3. The thing with Davis Bertans is, it just comes down to want to. If he wants to accept this role of being someone who gets spotty minutes in the NBA, but in those minutes, he's being placed on a team that can really accentuate what he does well. That he can capitalize on his 3-point shooting and spacing on these drive-in kicks and on these lineups where he's playing with a ton of playmakers. He can really capitalize on getting clean looks and improving his numbers even more so, where he looks just incredible offensively and accepting a reduced role. The defense will always hold him back, always, always, always. But if you show a winning team that you're willing to accept a role of, lesser than of spotty minutes, but I'm going to still be ready and still capitalize whenever I get my opportunity and help you win games by playing a meaningful 5 to 10 minutes in these games. When you show that to teams, they're going to want to take a chance on you and kind of revive what you do. Now, if he still has this idea that he should be playing 20, 30 minutes a night, okay, then it's just not going to work, plain and simply. But I'm interested to see kind of if he wants to be the next one to go through this Thunder car wash of improving guys or revitalizing guys or showing other contenders like what you can do. Because I don't think that it's going to end up with a bigger role. Like Al Horford, for example, still got to be a big part of the Celtics, even as recently as last year. It's not going to ever get back to that level, but it can get back to a level where now you're trusted to go to a contending team, and they know you're not going to cause a problem about your role or fuss about minutes, and they're just going to trust you to be a guy who excels in your 10 to so minutes to knock down threes. So maybe he can kind of reinvent that image about him in this season. But ultimately, it's just kind of a meh storyline all the way around for the Thunder. But nonetheless, he is playing, and he is playing up to standard for Davis Bertans. So there you have it. FIBA Takeover. We're talking about your mailbag questions, which we thought we could get to today, but we ran long on FIBA on tomorrow's show. Until then, be good and be good to one another.